All right, so it's 1:01. We're going to get started. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us today on this snowy Wednesday in Montreal. What a lovely surprise. So we're going to be speaking about banking reconciliation and Amilia payment. So we're going to be doing specifically for online payments for the banking reconciliation. So before we get started, I'm going to launch a little poll here to find out what you're most looking forward to with this webinar. All right, so it looks like learning about banking reconciliation is pulling out ahead. So that's great. That's my favorite topic. So I'm happy to hear about that. All right, so we're gonna get into it. Oh, my apologies. All right, so joining us today, we have myself, Emily. I am a customer care specialist and have been for the past 1.5 years. And we also have Lauren, who will be manning the chat. So at any point, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to type them in on the little chat box. I'll show you where to find that, and she'll be happy to answer your questions. So just a little housekeeping before we get into the presentation. This webinar will be recorded, so you can relive the magic at any time. It will be sent to you in a follow-up email after our time together today. We also encourage you to ask any questions throughout, and I'll show you how to ask those. So on the GoToWebinar page, there'll be a small control panel on the right-hand side of your screen and a section called questions where you can type in any questions to us, and Lauren will do her best to get to everyone's questions throughout the webinar. This is the agenda for today. So we're going to touch on what Amilia payment is. We're going to go through the payment journey, touch on the merchant account page and how it works, and then we're going to jump into how to reconcile your monthly bank statements and the useful reports when doing this process. So what is Amilia payment? Amilia payment is a simplified way to help you with your day-to-day financial operations. We brought relevant data you need from NetBanks into Amilia, so no need to open multiple tabs to get the information that you're looking for. Paysafe is our financial partner, and NetBanks is the name of their gateway. So the gateway refers to the portal that you'll be looking at all of this information on. So how do payment processing work? So payment processing refers to the journey that a payment goes through after it's collected from your client all the way to when it gets deposited to your business bank account. The processing times vary depending on the payment method. So for credit cards, it's between 3 to 5 business days, and e-checks is up to 10 business days. So let's talk about that journey in more depth. Processing a payment online involves at least 3 banks. The first 2 are pretty straightforward. So there's the issuing bank, which is your client's bank where they open their credit card. And there's the business bank where your organization keeps their money. The acquiring bank is the bank responsible for processing the payments on behalf of the business, and it's where you'll open your merchant account. Both Visa and MasterCard have their own regulations and lists of compliance requirements to become an acquirer. During the onboarding of Amilia, you opened a merchant account with our partner Paysafe. Unlike the business bank, you do not have direct access to the account from the acquiring bank, so you've likely been using the gateway, which in our case is NetBanks. You can think of the gateway as a window to the funds in the acquiring bank account. Because Amilia and Paysafe are partners, we have integrated the information you need from the gateway on a regular basis into Amilia. We'll take a tour of what information can be found in Amilia together later on in the presentation. So the first step is the authorization process. So Amelia checks if your client has the money to pay. So in this example, Andrea pays for an activity via Amelia, and Amelia needs to know if Andrea has the funds. So the authorization is a 30-cent fee, which is charged by the payment processor, PaySafe. This fee gets charged per transaction, and this authorization charge is part of the payment processing fees that you will see on your monthly Amelia invoice, which you can view in the Accounting and Finance tab and under the Billing sub-tab. So the payment processor taps into the card network, which then communicates with Andrea's bank to see if the funds are available. The issuing bank will confirm that the funds are indeed there. And this is when the funds will be reserved on Andrea's card. So you'll see the pending transaction for Survivor Kids. So this is a temporary hold of these funds while the whole process occurs. So you'll notice that the letters NBX will be showing on the bank statement. So this refers to NetBank. So this tells us that this charge was done via NetBanks. And this whole authorization process takes only a few seconds to complete. It all occurs between the moment that Andrea clicks Make Payment and the confirmation page appearing in front of her. As far as Andrea is concerned, she has paid for the activity. So the next part in the process is the settlement. So it actually takes a few days before the funds from Andrea's account make it to your organization's bank account. This process is known as the settlement. So banks generally combine several transactions together before transferring them to other banks. This is known as batching. This happens twice during the process. First, between the issuing bank and the acquiring bank, and then again between the acquiring bank and your business bank. For our partner PaySafe, it takes up to 5 days to fully transfer the funds to your business bank. The 2 days in arrears can be reduced to 1 day after 6 months. By arrears, what we mean is the number of days that the funds will be held in the merchant account before being released. A request can be sent to us in support if ever you'd like to reduce that 2 days to 1 day. Andrea's payment then gets deposited into the business bank as part of a batch. This is reflected in the integrated payment gateway. As mentioned earlier, because PaySafe and Amelia are partners, we have integrated this information into Amelia. So you can view it all from the merchant account page, which we will touch on a little bit later. As security is a very important thing to us, this whole aspect of payment is PCI DSS compliant. So PCI DSS compliant refers to the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, and it is required to participate in the payment ecosystem. Amelia transmits the card details via tokens, but we do not store them. Our partner PaySafe takes care of that on secure servers. So here is an overview of the entire payment ecosystem and how each piece fits together. At this time, I'll take a brief pause so you can ask any questions you'd like. All right, we're going to move on. Thank you for your questions. All right, now we're going to jump into the Merchant Account tab. So this can be found under the Accounting and Finance tab, and the sub-tab is called Merchant Account. So remember how we spoke about the fact that Amilia has integrated data from NetBanks? So you can actually find this here in the Merchant Account tab. On this page, you will get a high-level overview of the information you need on a daily basis, including the settlements, refunds, and other amounts, as well as the transfer amount, aka the deposit sent to your bank account. So here's a video to show what we can do with this page, including pulling a report of all of the transactions that occurred for each deposit. And we can actually go in and click to see which transactions are held within that deposit. So we can see the settlements, the payment ID number, the client's name, and also click to view what that payment is reconciled to. All right, now we're going to get into the steps to reconcile your bank statements. So before we get into it, due to the processing time, you'll notice that the payment date in Amelia's reports won't now always necessarily match up with the dates that the deposits were received by your business bank. Luckily, we have steps to reconcile it all. So you'll be hearing me refer to 3 different dates throughout this process. So when I speak about the A dates, this is the date of the payment that was made via Amilia. So the date that Andrea made her payment in Amilia. The B dates refer to the EFT transfer, so the deposit that was sent from the acquiring bank towards your business bank. And the C dates will refer to the date that the deposit was received by your business bank. So again, due to the processing times, the dates are slightly different. So this is an example for Andrea's account. So she made her payment on September 11th. That would be the A date in this example. So Andrea's payment would be part of a batch that closed and was sent out on September 15th. So this can be viewed on the merchant account page, and this would be the B date in this scenario. And finally, the C date refers to the date that the funds were received and sent to your business bank, which were on September 16th. So let's get started. So the first step we're going to do is to find our C dates. So to do so, we will take our bank statement. So in this example, I'm looking to reconcile the month of September. So what we want to do is find the very first deposit that was sent by PaySafe, which we can see here is September 2nd. And we want to go all the way until the very last deposit that was sent, which was on September 30th. So these become our C1 and C2 dates, which we will use to find our other dates. So next step is to use these C dates, so C1 September 2nd and C2 September 30th, to find our B dates. Due to the 2 days in arrears and the 3 days delay from the acquiring bank to the business bank, we want to give a good leeway of 5 business days to ensure that we are taking into account all of the transactions that occurred. So we want to take our C1, which is September 2nd, and minus 5 business days, which gives us August 26th. So we're going to use these dates to pull the report from the merchant account tab. So we're going to, for the sake of this example, I'm looking at a credit card. So I'm going to export the results from here. This will open an Excel document, which we will look at next. So this is the NetBanks and settlement fee report, which is generated from the merchant account tab. So this will show us the deposit amount and the dates that the deposits were sent from the acquiring bank to the business bank. So here we see that the very first transfer was sent on September 1st, and the very last transfer was sent on September 29th. So these now become our B dates. We are going to then use our B dates to pull a new report for the net banks and settlement fee report. So we're just going to do the same process we did earlier in the merchant account tab, but we're going to use September 1st and September 29th to pull the net banks and settlement fee report. This will give us all of the information that we need and no outlying information that we don't need to see, as we're concerned really with the deposits that were sent within the month of September. So now we're going to use this report to find our A dates. So a reminder, our A dates is the date that the payment was made in Amilia. So we're going to find it via the NetBank settlement or fee report. So by default, the summary page in Excel is there, but we're going to click on the All page to view all of the transactions. So we see that the very first one was made on August 30th, and the very last one was made on September 27th. So these become our A dates. So now that we have our A dates, we are going to use these to pull the payment summary report from Amilia. So the payment summary report can be pulled from the Reports tab under the subtab Standard, and it'll be found in the Payments section. As we are looking at specifically credit cards, we are concerned with the first column or the first row of this report only. So we can see the payment amount, the amount that was refunded, and then the final amount received. So the final step in reconciling our September bank statement is we want to verify that the funds that were received via Amilia and the funds that were deposited in your business bank do indeed match up. So we can compare these two totals, and you can see here that they match. So this means that we've correctly reconciled the month of September. Just a few frequently asked questions and troubleshooting tips. If ever the bank deposit amounts are missing from the report pulled for the B date, so the net banks and settlement fee report, we can always cast a wider net, so add a few days prior and a few days after, just to make sure that we're grabbing all the necessary information. So this reconciling process works the exact same way for e-checks. However, it's done as a completely independent action. How often should I reconcile my bank statements? We recommend doing them as soon as the month is up, just to make sure that you're keeping up with the financials and making sure that everything reconciles correctly. Is there a way to reduce processing time? So as I mentioned earlier, after 6 months of having your merchant account open, you can send a request to our team and support where we can reduce the delay in arrears from 2 business days to 1 business day. So while you can do the entire reconciliation process via Amilia, it is sometimes relevant. There are sometimes relevant details that are only found in NetBanks. So for example, chargebacks, you can view them via the NetBanks portal. You can also view your current balance. So for example, if you're looking to do a bunch of refunds and you want to know how much the funds that are available in your account, you can view this on NetBanks. You can also see the status of transactions that are pending. So any payments that are on the way or refunds that are being processed, you can see their status, whether they were confirmed, still pending, or denied. And you can also see any error codes and the reasons for failed payments. Of course, if you have any questions about any of this, you can also reach out to us and we'll be happy to clarify. So we're going to take a little brief break to take any questions at this time. So thank you for your questions. Not to worry if ever we don't get to answer them right away. They will be included in the roundup that will be sent to you. And of course, if there's any urgent questions, you can always reach out to us on chat as well. So just a reminder, this webinar has been recorded and a copy of it will be sent with the knowledge base article that will be sent to you via email. And at any point, you can always access it from the knowledge base. So the knowledge base can be accessed from the Home tab under the support box, and there's a direct link to it there. And as always, if you have any questions, you can click on the text bubble on the right-hand corner of your screen and send us a chat. I'd like to thank you all for attending, and I hope that was helpful, and we look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. I hope you all have a great day.